Hi, I'm Kristen, and this is the Simple Handmade Everyday podcast where I talk about living a creative, intentional life. I like to chat about quilting, sometimes knitting, what I'm reading and watching, and a little bit about keeping a cozy, organized home. I've got my cup of tea in hand, so let's settle in for a chat. This is episode 42. Welcome! I am so glad that you're here, and I'm so excited to talk to you about my cup of tea today, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. I usually start my episodes by talking about the cup of tea that I'm drinking. I'm a passionate tea drinker, and I reached out to the people at Handmade. Now, you know, if you've been listening, that I love Handmade teas. I usually just buy them off of Amazon. They're very good quality tea. I usually do loose leaf, but I'm not above doing the tea bags because their tea bags are made of like loose leaf tea. They're very wonderful quality tea bags, so there's like no shame with using the tea bag. So I reached out to them about the podcast. They did not take me up on, like being an advertiser, but what they did do is allow me to pick a certain number of teas to talk about a little bit. So I ordered about 5 or 6 tins of tea. I got to say that the tins that they come in are so beautiful. I love to save them and use them, to store sewing notions and things like that in them. So over the next few podcasts, I will talk about the different teas that I've got. Today is called Cherry Blossom. It's a green tea with a little very subtle cherry flavoring. Absolutely delicious. Kind of a great caffeine level for me to drink a lot during the day so I don't get super jittery. But it's absolutely delicious. Again, I have the tea bags. And they're very nice quality tea bags. You can see the tea in them. You can see the leaves. So absolutely love that. Also, I ordered from their website, which it never occurred to me that they had a website. I'll put a link in the show notes. Not even an affiliate link. They have a huge selection of tea that I didn't even know existed because only a very small subset is actually sold on Amazon, which is where I usually buy my tea. So go check that out. Probably the one I should have talked about today, so I will just talk about it right now, is they have a Valentine's Day blend, which is a chocolate tea. Now, you know me, I'm not super into flavored tea. I bought that one. The tin is gorgeous. I gotta make candy and give it to somebody or something for Valentine's Day. But it was delicious. It's definitely, to me, the type of tea you might want to put a little milk in because, like milk and chocolate, they really go together. But definitely a different flavor would definitely go well with a little bit of dark chocolate with it. So definitely love the Valentine's Day blend and one of my very favorites, the Cherry Blossom green tea. So that is what is in my cup. I hope you have got something fun in your cup too. So what is the news from around here? I don't know. It's been busy. January was a busy month. I think I talked last podcast about I went on a business trip to kind of launch a different area of my business, which I am very happy to report has totally taken off. So that is wonderful. I'm very happy that part of the business is going really well. It has been keeping me really, really busy. So I feel like my whole life is pretty much just working on that and working on the hand piece quilt along, which I will talk about soon, and just trying to keep up on the homemaking routines. And I don't feel like I'm doing a great job. Trying not to panic about it. I've kind of, for this little season, I've backed off of a lot of zone cleaning, and I'm just trying to keep up with the daily routines to make sure that the kitchen is clean, the floors are swept, things are dusted, bathrooms are decent, and that's just going to have to kind of be enough. And when things settle down for me a little bit, I will be happy to get back to some zone cleaning. I might just make a little list for the weekend of, because I haven't been hitting each zone every week, things like I'm realizing, I really just need to spend 5 minutes and refold everything in my pajama drawer or my workout gear drawer, and kind of noticing that the pantry, I could spend 5 minutes and just kind of straighten it out, maybe do a quick vacuum of some crumbs and things like that. And that all seems pretty doable. So I think that'll be my focus, but I'll be happy to get back to doing a little bit more of the deep cleaning. But if you keep up on the daily routines, things don't go too far afield. So that's really good. What else is going? My college kids are coming home on Valentine's Day for that long President's Day weekend, which is also my wedding anniversary weekend. 24 years, going strong. So I'm looking forward to the family being all back together and trying to keep on track with some of the goals that I set. I talked last episode about this thing called the Start Today Journal, which Rachel Hollis created. And again, I'm just doing it in an old notebook. But it's basically stating your goals for the year as if they've already happened. And that's been really fun to do. Again, you rewrite the same 10 goals every day. Go back and listen to that episode if you don't know what I'm talking about. But you basically start out with a little gratitude, and then you rewrite your goals as if they'd already happened every day. And as things start to happen, it's fun because you're going, okay, yeah, this is happening. And then things that are not happening, like for me, that I strength train on a regular basis. Every day I write that, I just think, okay, you need to start this if this is going to be true by the end of the year. So it's kind of a positive way to work on your goals. So I've been like everybody else, I want to lose 25 pounds this year, and that's not going so well. I got to think of a way. I have a feeling that there might be one or two of you out there that also have that goal, and maybe we can do something to be accountability partners or to be an encouragement over in the Simple Handmade Everyday Facebook group. Maybe we could get a daily post or something going over there. I don't know. Let me know if you'd like that idea. I think it's fun to sort of, take people along on the journey for that. So let's get right into it and talk about some quilting. But first, thanks to the Fat Quarter Shop for sponsoring the Simple Handmade Everyday podcast. The Fat Quarter Shop is a one-stop show for quilting fabrics and supplies for quilters around the world. They stock quilt shop quality fabrics, pre-cuts, quilt kits, patterns, notions, and even cross-stitch supplies. Are you quilting along with the Bloomtopia charity quilt? The pattern for the first 2 blocks has been posted, and they look like so much fun. And there's even a video by Chelsea of Sherry and Chelsea, who designed the fabrics that they're using and the quilt, showing you how to make the blocks. So that I watched that video, and that was really fun. The way it works is there's a suggested donation of $5 per pattern to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Central and South Texas. The Fat Quarter Shop and Moda will match donations up to $20,000. So check it out. You can just follow along on the Jolly Jabber blog, which is the Fat Quarter Shop blog, to download the patterns as they're posted. And I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I'll put a link in the show notes. All right, quilting. First, I have to thank everybody who popped over and voted on the Fat Quarter Shop Pillow Talk competition that I talked about last time. It was so close. It was so close. I totally thought I was going to be crushed because, I was going up against Minky Kim, and her pillow was beautiful. But I don't know. It was like 40, what was it? Maybe 43% to 57%. Does that add up to 100? I don't know. Something like that. It was way closer than I thought it would be. So thank you for getting over there. It must have been you guys voting for me. So it was totally fun. And there's two new pillows up right now, and they are both beautiful. So just, keep following along and supporting that. I am looking forward to making another pillow from the Pillow Talk book from Adita Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. That was super fun. Instructions are great. The pillow designs are beautiful. So totally check that out. The other thing that I have been working on, I should rephrase, the only thing that I have been working on quilting-wise is my hand-pieced quilt-along quilt. So Patty from Elm Street Quilts and I, we're launching this year's, the 2020 version of the hand-pieced quilt-along. We will be doing our quilt reveal blog post with more actual details for the quilts along. Let's see, we're in early February this month, like in the next couple weeks. Totally looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I actually have to finish my quilt. I'm down to borders at this point, but I've just really been putting on some time working on hand piecing that every night. And it's been so much fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. I am loving working with the fabrics this year are from Art Gallery Fabrics. They feel a little bit different. They're a little softer and silkier than your normal quilting cotton. I guess it's called Pima cotton. And I'm loving it. They're great for hand piecing. And I'm really enjoying that, but it has been a lot of hand sewing. But that has left me a lot of time to watch a lot of TV and listen to a lot of books. I'll talk about those later. I think I said basically these exact same words last podcast, so I'm sorry. But really, all of January and into February has been quilting that quilt or piecing that quilt. But I do have a few other quilting related things to talk about. Last time I also talked about the new book Patchwork Gifts by Elise Beck. It's pronounced. I stumbled over it terribly last episode. It's Elise Beck. And I'm on the blog hop for that one, or the blog tour, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to make. When I talked last episode, I think I decided as I was looking through it that I might do a journal cover, but she's got a really cute baby quilt in there that with half square triangles, and I think it would be really fun. So now I'm thinking about that. So I'll keep you posted on that. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is my friend Holly Ann over at String and Story. She teaches free motion quilting online. She is an amazing teacher. I've talked about her before. We kind of learned to free motion quilt at the same time. She took off like a rocket with it and now teaches it. Long arms. She's amazing. And now I kind of went the other direction. I'm like, yes, I can do this. But now that I've proven that I can do this, I'm going to pay somebody else to do it and quilt my own small projects. And I might just stay with that MO for a while. But if you want to learn how to free motion quilt, Holly Ann is your gal. She has this thing called Free Motion Quilting Academy, and she opens the doors only a couple times a year. And it's pretty cool because while you have access to these classes forever, you actually, if you join at, like as a cohort, like right now she's opening, she will take you through, you and all the hundreds of other people, through each lesson. And there's a private Facebook group, and people post pictures of the progress, and there's just a ton of support. You can get in there and ask questions. So it's very interactive. And off the top of my head, I think she takes you through between 8 and 12 weeks. I can't really remember right now, but it's a great experience. So definitely check that out. She's going through a free class right now on her Facebook group, String and Stories, and she records those as Facebook Live. So if you're kind of curious about this, I'll put a link in the show notes for both Free Motion Quilting Academy and to her Facebook group, so you can just look at the free courses so you can see her style of teaching and interacting, and you really get a sense of who she is. And you know what? I've been blown away. I'm a member of that private Facebook group, and you just cannot even believe where people start at the beginning. If you know how to free motion quilt a little bit, you kind of remember what those stitches look like at the beginning. They're really long and they're jerky, and your tension is off, and you don't get smooth circles, and all those kinds of things. And then people are posting whole cloth quilt samples, to qualify, because she actually has a graduation ceremony at the end, and they are these whole cloth quilts are amazing. So they come so far because what the secret to free motion quilting is. It's practice. And by signing up for this class and kind of going through the Facebook group and going it with through with the whole group, it kind of is an inspiring situation. So it makes you want to practice. So anyways, check out Free Motion Quilting Academy if learning how to free motion quilt is on like your 2020 list of, things that you want to learn how to do this year. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, do you label your quilts? I'm terrible. I've never labeled a quilt. I'm embarrassed to admit that. I just have never figured out the right way that would work for me to do it. But I was chatting on Instagram with a fellow quilter named Jessica Dayton. I don't know if you follow her. She makes a lot of really cute quilts. And she turned me on to something that I haven't ordered yet, but I'm going to. These labels from Border City Quilts. And they are almost like a tag that you would see in clothing. I mean, you can even get them in satin. And so she got ones that just said her name on the front, and then you fold them in half. And then if you flip that little tag over, so on the backside is the year. They often just say, handmade by, or homemade by, or made with love, or whatever. You can have it say whatever you want in different fonts. And then you just sew that right into the binding when you go to bind it, and it's just this small little tag. No, it doesn't have, like made with love for Dad for your 75th birthday, and this is the year, and this is the pattern. It's not one of those kinds of quilts, but it's something. And right now I'm doing nothing, and so I'm thinking about getting those. And tell me if you label your quilts, and if you do, congratulations. I'm very proud of you, and I need to at least step up my game this far. All right, let's move on to some knitting news, which I don't have much, only that I'm still working on that sock. I'm halfway done with the second sock of a pair of socks that I've been knitting for several months, so no news there. But I taught Minky how to knit, sort of. She was over one day. I think it was the day we took pictures of those pillows for our pillow talk competition, and she said, show me how to knit. So got some needles out and showed her how to just knit, do the normal knit stitch. I knit continental. Now, when I learned to knit American, maybe it's also called English style, where you throw the yarn with your right hand, if you're right-handed. No offense, there is a ton of wasted motion when you do it that way, although some people can knit very quickly with that. I totally understand that, but knitting continental is called picking, and there's no throwing the yarn, and it's way, from an economy of motion standpoint, it's way more efficient. So I tried to teach her to knit continental, and so she was inspired. She picked it right up, and so she went home. I think what she did is she found a video online. Of course, you can totally learn to knit from online. I think she even found one in Korean. So that was even a better fit for her. And then the next day, she texted me a picture, like she'd been knitting for 2 days straight at that point. And she had gotten so good so fast. And so now, I don't know if you're following her, Ziriano, on Instagram. She has totally, she's posted several of these washcloths. I got her turned on to the Dishy cotton yarn from Knit Picks. It's way nicer than the stuff that you can buy at Joann's and Michael's, the sugar and cream stuff, the Dishy. It's very nice and still very inexpensive. So she's just like, just like I knew she would. Like the next thing I know, she's going to be like designing sweaters probably. I have like not progressed in my knitting at all in 10 years, and she's going to totally take off. So anyways, it was just really fun to kind of introduce her. I mean, I barely introduced her. She did it all herself. But so Minky's knitting now, and Chloe, she'll be coming home in a couple weeks, and I'm hoping to kind of get her inspired to get crocheting and maybe make some crochet dishcloths. As much as I love knitted dishcloths, I think crochet ones are better because they have more holes in them. So I need to kind of get her on that for me, making some dishcloths for me. Let's move on to books. Have you read anything good lately? I have to say I've been struggling a little bit finding something to really sink my teeth into. I depend a lot on the Libby app to listen to audiobooks, but you don't always have the greatest selections. I did start listening to a book by, I always want to say Debbie McComber, but that is not how you say her name. And now I can't, because I heard her say it herself, and it's not Macomber. I don't know what it is, but you know who I'm talking about. She has, many different series of books, and she's very much kind of a lightweight romance author. But she has, in addition to the series, the Blossom Street series, which is all crafty stuff, and I totally liked those. She also has this series, the Rose Harbor series, about this woman who opens a bed and breakfast at a really hard point in her life. Blah blah blah. Hires a hunky handyman. You do the math. But it's about 4 or 5 books long, I think, and I read a couple back in the day. But this is apparently this book called, I think it's called Sweet Tomorrow. It was the last one in the series. I definitely missed a few in the middle there, but I'm like, I couldn't find anything else. I'm like, I'm just going to listen to this. To be honest with you, I gave up on it because I sort of knew exactly what was going to happen. And it made me think, Kristen, you need to read better quality books. So I'm on the hunt. You know what? I've got no problem with fiction and even some, light, I love myself a cozy mystery, but I think I could probably up my quality of the books I'm reading a little bit. So that is a a goal of mine. And so towards that end, I downloaded Commonwealth by Ann Patchett. And I think I talked about this last podcast. So Ann Patchett, well-respected writer. And this is sort of an epic family story. It's kind of a long book. And I'm about halfway. And I'm not hating it, but I just kind of feel like not a lot happens in this book. And I love a character-driven novel, so I don't expect a ton of plot, but I just kind of didn't feel that there was a theme to this except for family relationships are hard. That's the theme. So I don't know. I haven't returned it yet. I might continue, but I asked a few people in the Hand-Pieced Quilt Along, not the Hand-Pieced Quilt Along, the Simple Handmade Everyday Facebook group, if you've read it and what did you think? And I kind of got a lot of, yeah, nothing really happens. I gave up on it, or I finished it and it was okay. Not my favorite book, so I may abandon it because you know what, life is short. But so yeah, I feel like I'm striking out a little bit there. I talked last time about the book How to Steal Like an Artist, and I kind of finished that. I've read it a couple times now, and just really liked the inspiration that book gives about creativity, and realized that I need to keep a notebook. I have lots of notebooks, but I need to keep basically a creativity notebook where I can sort of put things that are, inspiring color combinations or designs or quilting patterns or things like that. It's so hard in our digital world, to keep a physical notebook of things like that. It's probably better to do digitally, but I don't see that happening for me. So I'd be curious if you guys wanted to share if you keep any sort of an inspirational notebook like that. But yeah, or just, quotes, just kind of a whole mishmash of whatever's inspiring you, poems, words, interactions with people. I think I'd like to start keeping a notebook like that, and who knows where that could lead. So the book that I just checked out, so I always do this. I talk about books that I don't have a recommendation on yet, but the town next to us, Thousand Oaks, is a bigger city than ours, and they have a fabulous library, and they do a one city, one book program every year where they pick a book and then, they try to get a bunch of people to read it. And then during 1 month they have activities. They sometimes bring the author in to talk, and I don't know. I've actually never done it. My friend Pam, the one that's British and showed you how to brew a cup of tea a few episodes back, she often reads this book, and she always tells me about it, and I go, yeah, that someday. But this year I actually got the book out of the library, and it's called The Honey Bus. It's a memoir about a child who all I know is something bad happens, lives with maybe a grandparent who keeps bees on an abandoned bus. And, this is sort of a transformative part of her life. So it's supposed to be very good. So I'll let you know maybe next episode whether that is worth a read or not. But I am hoping to really kind of dig my heels in on a good fiction book here, because if not, I will just go back and re-listen to all of the Inspector Gamache books because that's what I do when I can't figure out what to read. All right, let's move on to shows and movies. I forgot to mention last time that when I came back from my business trip, I watched Where'd You Go, Bernadette on the airplane. Isn't it great the way you can watch movies and TV shows on airplanes now? Like you can pick what you want to watch instead of everybody watching the exact same thing. So I watched Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which is a book I've always sort of meant to read and not gotten around to it. So I figured I'll just watch the movie. It's got Kate Blanchett as Bernadette and Kristen Wiig, and perhaps her greatest straight man role I've ever seen her in. I love Kristen Wiig because she is so hilarious, but she plays just a really uptight neighbor in this situation. And I always thought, based on the title, that she sort of disappears, like Gone Girl or something. But no, that is not actually what happens. It's more like a woman who, she's an architect, very highly intelligent, very creative, and she just sort of loses herself, just loses sight of herself. She's married, she has a kid, and some things happen to her professionally which cause her to sort of withdraw creatively, and how that really backs up on her in her life. And I thought that was really cool. I think it kind of relates to us as creators of if we are not creating, we are not realizing our potential, and that can, sort of show up in different areas of our life. So I really enjoyed that. It was funny and sort of poignant too. So that's Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Last episode, I asked for some recommendations for, some good British show I could watch because I was having withdrawals. And a couple people reached out to me about the newest PBS masterpiece show called Sanditon, which is a really weird name. Sanditon is apparently the name of a town in England. And where else, right? And, okay, the idea here is Sanditon is an unfinished Jane Austen novel that she didn't finish because she got sick and ultimately died, is the conventional thinking here, I guess. And it's a very Jane Austen story. Very Jane Austen. It's got her fingerprints all over it. Totally enjoying it. I think it's 8 episodes long. I don't know if there's going to be more than one season. There's just one season now. I finished 7 episodes, so tonight I'm very excited about watching the last episode. It's about a young girl who, one of 12 children, farmer's daughter, obviously poor, gets the opportunity to go stay with a very wealthy family in the town of Sanditon, which this man that she's staying with, the man of the family, is trying to turn into a seaside resort town. And so they're building, and they're trying to get, clientele to come and stay, and, a lot of repeat business. So, so that's kind of a unique take, although, how many Jane Austen books start on the seashore. But there's been some very interesting things. The heroine's name is Charlotte. I find her adorable, and part of what I find so endearing about her is I feel like she's always a little bit a mess. She's got curly brown hair, and I don't know where Sanditon is. It seems a lot like Cornwall. The scenery seems a lot like Poldark, which is why I'm thinking that. So there's a lot of wind, and so her hair is just always a mess, and she's always kind of squinting when she's talking to people and making faces, and she's adorable. So my point here is that she's not perfect. She, of course, would be your most beautiful friend if you knew her in real life, but in terms of TV, she seems kind of, attainable. So kind of interesting things is that they have these things called bathing machines. So if a woman wanted to go into the sea, there's like a little hut on wheels, and you would go in there and you would put on this ridiculous bathing costume that was in bright red. I feel it's like something out of Handmaid's Tale, with like a thing over your hair and obviously covering you from the neck all the way down, and with yards and yards of fabric. And they would pull this little hut that's like, I'm going to say 4 feet by 4 feet. They would pull it out into the water for you, and then from there you would get into the ocean. So I don't know, the idea is that you would be scandalous to walk down the beach and get into the water as a woman. I don't know. Or maybe it would be more scandalous when you were walking back with this thing was sticking to your body or something. But I had no idea there were these things called bathing machines. Meanwhile, the men just strip down butt naked and just go right into the water. So what is up with that double standard? So, but anyways, there's definitely a very Mr. Darcy character in that, and by that I mean super jerky but very good looking, and you imagine there is a heart of gold under there. He is played by Theo James, which you might know as Mr. Pamuk from the first episode of Downton Abbey, I think, or if you ever saw any of the Divergent movies, he's in that. He's obviously very, very hunky. And so, so just, it's very Jane Austen-y, a lot of, class stuff, a lot of beautiful costumes. And, so check it out, Sanditon. And I finished Anne with an E, which I guess is going to be the last season. And I have to say, cried my eyes out. It was the last few episodes I found amazingly touching. And this, okay, so I've asked a few people about this. People seem to be very divided about Anne with an E. Some people love it, and some people cannot get over that it's different than the books. And if you're one of those people, I encourage you to give it a try. I mean, obviously you do you. But if you think of it as just sort of fan fiction, the actual storyline, if you forget that it's this Anne that you knew before, and you think you know what happened to her because you read all the Anne books, the storylines are amazing. They definitely tackle more social issues than were ever covered in the book, which makes it a little bit more of a modern interpretation. As a matter of fact, maybe a lot of these things would not have really played out in that time frame the way they're playing out for us as an audience now. But again, don't really care. The casting is amazing, costume's amazing, and I'm really enjoying the stories. So I may have to just go back and rewatch that whole series again because I found it truly delightful. Let's finish this off with a little bit of homemaking. I wanted to give you a candle update. I mentioned a few episodes back that Chloe and I made candles over winter break. I bought a set from Amazon that included grated soy wax and wicks and wick centerers. And we made a number of plain white soy candles in little mason jars, as well as taking wax from candles that I owned that was too highly scented and mixing those down with wax. And I have to say, they needed to sort of sit and cure for a while. So I just recently started burning those candles, and it worked out really well. It was a really fun afternoon, and there's nothing weird about the candles. They all seem to be burning evenly and just fine. So that was a great experiment, and I am totally looking forward to making some more candles in the future. So the other thing I actually really wanted to talk to you about today is how you organize your grocery list. I realize that people do this a lot of different ways, and I'd say that some organization methods are better than others. So I just kind of wanted to share how I did mine because it works really well for me. So I shop at regularly 3 grocery stores. So Trader Joe's is 90% of my list, and I do that every week. We have a Vons across the street, which is like a Kroger, Albertsons, just like your more conventional grocery store. I used to shop there all the time. It would be very convenient, but I really love Trader Joe's. I love the way it's curated. I love the way they pay attention to ingredients. I like shopping in a smaller store, to be honest with you. But there are some things that you just have to go to a conventional grocery store for. If you want brand name Tabasco or Sriracha or things like that, if you're passionate about your best food mayonnaise, then you need to get that at a regular grocery store. And obviously it's there for the midweek. Oh my gosh, we're at a produce run. And then we also have a Costco membership, and we get almost all our meat at Costco, all of our bulk paper products, a number of, we buy eggs, 5 dozen at a time there. So we definitely have our list of things that we get from Costco as well. So in my kitchen, inside a cabinet door, because I like to keep everything hidden, inside one of the cabinet doors, I have lined with cork. Those little, they're just squares that I bought at Target that are about, a half inch or less thick, and they're just mounted up there. And I should maybe take a picture of this, but it's nothing pretty. But I basically have little Post-it notes that say Costco, Trader Joe's, Vons, and I actually also have one for Target and Home Depot and Petco, but let's not talk about those. And I just have plain index cards thumbtacked under each of these little Post-it notes for the store name. So that's the obvious place where you just jot down the things as you realize that you need them. It's also the place when a person pulls the last thing out of a pantry, it is their job to write it on the little index card, right? And so that is a way that we keep track of, if we run out of deodorant, and I know that I get that at Target, that goes on there. If we run out of bacon, that goes on the Costco list. Sometimes I write things on multiple lists, like if we, let's just say run out of peanut butter, and it's like, I'm not going to be at Trader Joe's for a while, I'll put it on the Trader Joe's list. I'll also put it on the Vons list. I may even put it on the Target list so that whatever store I go to next, I'll know that I get that. That's for things like that if we really, really need it. So so that's the way we kind of keep an ongoing grocery list is right there. And then I sit down on Saturday mornings and do my menu planning. And I plan out a week's worth of menus. I'd really like to get to the point where I'm planning out 2 weeks at a time so that I only have to sit down with the recipe binders and the cookbooks and all that stuff like twice a month. That's my goal. But right now I pretty much, it's my thing that after I drink my coffee on Saturday morning, I sit down and I start menu planning, and I usually start asking people like, give me one thing you want to eat this week to sort of help. I also, as a structure, I make little notes on a piece of scratch paper that say like beef, chicken, fish, vegetarian, soup, these as categories to kind of help me so that I don't accidentally sort of make sandwich-based things all week long. So that just kind of helps me like, oh, what would be something we could have with beef this week? Oh, we could do hamburgers. We could do fajitas. What's something for chicken? Oh, I could do chicken chili, that kind of a thing. Kind of just gives me something to hang some ideas on. And so then I just, after I've made that menu plan, then I pull my grocery list for Trader Joe's off of the, out of the cupboard there, take out my little index card, and I've created master shopping lists in just Excel. Again, they're not pretty for both Trader Joe's and for Costco. It took me a long time to do the one for Costco. I finally got around to that. But it's it's an Excel spreadsheet shopping list that goes basically in the order that I shop at Trader Joe's. And so it's even a little bit out of order. So like all the produce is not necessarily together because I hit the produce in two different times the way my Trader Joe's is laid out. And so I transfer over whatever, has accumulated on the list during the week, and then the stuff for my menu plan. And having that pre-printed grocery list for Trader Joe's, I got to tell you, it's worked out really well, because here's the thing is that I've kind of found out that there's a lot of things that I buy at these stores that aren't really on the list because I know, like, I don't know, I just always pick up hummus and a bag of tortilla chips every time, that I go. I always pick up, a thing of tortillas, there were things that I was buying without writing them down, without realizing it. And so then my husband would say, oh, I'll go to Trader Joe's for you. And so I would hand him the list, and he would come home with, and he wouldn't have any of these things that I always think about. I will always buy fruit while I'm at the grocery store. And so by writing this list and having everything laid out, once I've transferred the list from the week and the menu plan, then I just go through the whole list from Trader Joe's and just mark off, yes, we need salad dressing, definitely look at the fruit, definitely get 2 things of hummus, grab some lunch meat, things like that because I really only menu plan dinner. So lunch and breakfast things are things I have to kind of think of off the top of my head. So I don't know if that's helpful to you, but it's a system that works for us really well. I know some people keep track of their things that they need during the week, like on an app on their phone or on the Notes app on their phone. But I don't do that because if my son uses the last, of the cheese, I want him to write it on a list for me because, as I so frequently say, I don't do an inventory every time I go to the grocery store. If we've used something up, it needs to go on a list because I'm not going to look for things that we're missing. Does that make sense? So anyways, so that is my how I keep track of grocery lists. Let me know how you do it. I'd be happy to hear that as well. And because I'm always looking for ways to upgrade my system. Always, always. So I want to take this opportunity to thank people who left reviews. I love you. Thank you so much. There were 3 reviews since my last podcast. OC Quilter and Crafter, Tana Maroney, and how do I want to say that? Karanbu. Carannbu. So thank you so much. I totally appreciate the kind words that you leave in your reviews, and that you took the time to do it. So if you enjoy the podcast, I encourage you to leave a review or a rating, share it with a friend, whatever you would like to do. Always appreciated. So thanks for spending this time with me. You can find me online at my blog, Simple Handmade Every Day, on Instagram at Kristen Esser. And for the millionth time this podcast, If you feel so inclined, join us over in the Simple Handmade Everyday private Facebook group so that we can keep this conversation going. I hope that you have a great week, and I will talk to you next time.